What is your secret sauce to figuring out what is this person made of?
Hard work, persistence and perseverance is my mode because talent is not. There's lots of competition and so you have to build a brand. If the quality of life in Bombay was close to the quality of life in London, we won't lose these people. For us to become truly a global power or superpower.
Hi, my name is Kumar Hariharan. I'm an executive coach, speaker and author. Stories That Shift is a series of up-close and intimate conversations with CXOs and practitioners of various disciplines on what makes them tick. Stories are not what we say, stories are who we are. I have a very interesting guest on this podcast today, Arjun Vaidya of V3 Ventures. Arjun, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me and I'm excited to be part of the conversation. I think I really liked the line where you said, stories are who we are. And I think I'm excited to deep dive on that with you.
First of all, thank you for having us over at your super elegant house and your hospitality. If somebody has been living under a rock, they don't know your story, but let's kind of assume that let's setting the context. The hero's journey is a very, very fascinating journey. And what's a hero's journey without the origin story? But because many people have kind of know your story, if you can just give like a nutshell about, if you can wrap it up beautifully for us, that'll be a great
yeah, so you're sitting in the place, in the space that was probably a wrap up of the entire journey, right? Bought this home after we exited the business. And so this is a sort of, it's a representation. Like every time I entered this home, I remember the journey and what we've been through. I remember like when we inaugurated this home as well, and we walked into the home, Trisha and there was a random flashback of all the things that we went through to get here. And I think it's a nice feeling to have this space. But look, I'll tell you very quickly, Vaidya, my last name means Ayurvedic doctor. I come from a legacy of 150 years of Ayurveda in my family. I'm Bombay born and raised. I went to school here. I went to college in the US. Came back to India in 2013 because I'm very patriotic. I wear the band with the Indian flag on my hand. I've been wearing it for the last 13 years now. And I came back to India because I believe that we are the privileged few who get access and exposure to things that the rest of our country may not have. And so it's our job to come back and do something in this economy. I'm not one of those people who went and did service. Sure. I didn't work in an NGO, but I believe that my contribution in some small way, shape or form to the Indian economy is important. 200%. So I came back to India. I worked in private equity in an investing fund that invests in the consumer space for 3 years. Got a great exposure to meet some of India's top CXOs across consumer brands. The good part about a private equity fund is even at 22, that business card allows you to meet anyone and everyone. And I used that time to really be a sponge and soak in all the exposure that I could. In 2016, my dada passed and he cured me of asthma growing up. So I promised him I'll take forward his legacy. So I quit my job in October 2016 to take on my family's Ayurveda legacy, which was not a business. It was an Ayurvedic clinic with formulations and a small manufacturing facility, and created a brand called Doctor Vaidya's that scaled from zero to India's largest Ayurveda brand online. We got to 5,000 orders a day, 2 million transacting customers across 16,500 pin codes in India. That was the sort of proudest stat for me in Doctor Vaidya's, that from one warehouse we reached 65% of India.
Nice.
We launched 80 products, raised some money from RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, and eventually in April 21 saw sort of the full 360-degree journey, sold the business to them, and that started the next journey of being a investor and being a sort of champion of the startup ecosystem and the startup space in India. I've now made more than 95 angel investments, and I run a VC fund called V3 Ventures with World Invest to do early stage consumer investing in India.
What a fascinating wrap up.
But I think it doesn't do justice. It doesn't do justice to the journey.
Of course not.
I tried to make it as quick as I could.
Though I learned a new word from one of the guests I was interviewing. She said, brevity is my secret power. And I think that's beautiful. And, you just kind of succinctly wrapped up the entire journey. But please allow me to peel back a few layers and circle back as and when it seems the right thing to do. What's exciting the last 6 months? What has been happening?
Yeah, look, I think last 6 months specifically, the most exciting thing in my life is my baby.
Oh, congrats. So
in January this year, we had a baby and she is 6 months old.
Wow.
Now. So I think that's from the personal side, very exciting. From a work perspective, people ask me, how do you have so much energy? And by the way, I don't drink tea or coffee. How do you have so much energy? And I say, I live in India. How can you not have energy when you're here, right? A big country, center of the global economy now, according to me. And I'm not just saying because I'm patriotic. So much happening all around us. It's insane. It's crazy, right? And so I think from a work perspective, just the fact that I am able to meet 20, 30 new founders every week, engage with what's happening at the cutting edge of innovation and disruption, I think that's just super exciting.
No, actually, it kind of reminds me of Malcolm Gladwell's outliers theory. So he posited basically at a time when probably less than 1% of the planet had access to a computer. Bill Gates had access to a computer and whatever. I'm so envious. At 22, you actually had access to some of the, you kind of saw e-commerce and, taking birth in front of your eyes. But what I really loved about it is during that period, you actively invested time, energy in meeting up with entrepreneurs from all, 4 or 5 huge domains. And what an interesting time that would have been.
Look, I think the most interesting time for me, if I look back now, is 2013.
Yeah.
When I just started my job. I think it was September 2013. My boss said, look, there is this e-commerce thing that seems to be happening in India. We've seen the wave in the US and not invested, seen the wave in China and not invested, seen some of it in Europe and not invested. Check if there's something worth looking at in India. I was an intern, I didn't get a full-time job. So I said, okay, sure, I'll jump on it. And the first company I met in my job in week 1, so day 1 I met Savan, which is now Jio Savan.
Yeah.
But week 1 I met Mitra. And spent time on companies like Myntra, Jabong, Pepperfry, Bluestone, Zivame. At that time, we were questioning whether Indians would buy clothes online.
Sure.
Indians would buy innovate online. Indians would buy furniture online. Indians would buy jewelry online. Right? So those are the questions we were asking ourselves at that time. And I used to buy from all these e-commerce websites, test the experience, meet the founders. And I realized very quickly that this thing called e-commerce was not a fad. It is here to stay. And so I became the point person in the fund for e-commerce.
Lovely.
I learned that space as much as I could. And then I got a full-time job because of that.
Beautiful. The one difference I would like to say, okay, let me posit this saying that there were X number of other people who were given the same opportunity to observe and grasp an insight. How many of them do you really think hustled and put in the work and went after that insight?
Yeah, I think that, like for me, if I think about my childhood as well, like I have a hand-eye coordination problem. I love sports, but I don't do as well as other people because I have a hand-eye coordination problem.
Sure.
Right? So I played squash all my life. I still play squash. I'd been in the academy for 3 years. A guy would come in 3 months and beat me. He was just better at that than me, right? And so I realized very early on in life that hard work, persistence and perseverance is my moat because talent is not. Right? And so in everything I do, I ensure I'll go over and above everybody. So I play football every Sunday, right? And I never played football in school. I never made the football team in school. Now I play football every Sunday. Most of the people who play football, I play football with, were in their school teams. They're much more talented than me. They're better on the ball than me. But I can 2x outrun each and every person on the field. And so 30 minutes into the game, I'm still available and still can run, but nobody else can, right? So I think that's something that was ingrained in me from a very early age. So I know that I can work harder than anybody else.
Wow.
And take opportunities and advantage of opportunities that need hard work better than anybody else.
No, thank God the camera can't spot goose flesh at this point in time. No, honest to God. I'll tell you why. It's not a very, very glib thought about kind of a thing. But it's also a realization for me. I'm 50 now. So I've been through the generation where like, hey, listen, it's not about hard work. I was the cusp of, it's not
smart work.
It's the smart work and stuff like that. And
I have nothing against smart work, by the way. It's just not for me. I'm not good at it.
No. I have a theory about that. I'm saying if you don't push the limits of what you can with what you have, then I think it's almost a disservice. Right? You kind of gravitate and realize that, look, this is not what I'm good at, but let me focus in this direction. And that turned out to be the strongest muscle in your body. But I'm saying even for people who are gifted, right? I mean, I always go back to LeBron and Michael Jordan saying that their work ethic is just unbelievable. They will spend longer time on court. They will work out harder than everybody else. And then somebody else comes and say, oh, just pure talent. I mean, I find that very
It's
weird.
a Sachin, closer to home, Sachin versus Vinod Kambli's story, right?
Exactly.
Sachin says Vinod Kambli was more talented than him, but he just didn't have the discipline to be able to do the same thing. And so you see where Vinod Kambli is and you see where Sachin ended up, right?
200%. 200%.
And Sachin says that in school he was the more talented cricketer.
Wow. Wow. Do you see the same play out now? Also, there is a little bit of blurring of the edges with hustle and, kind of a thing. But putting in the hard work, it's not become pejorative in India as of now as yet, right?
On public platform, at least, it's not acceptable to say you should work 18 hours a day, etc. All of that. Look, I
Gotcha.
I have a strong view on this. And my view is you got to do what you got to do. If I had friends in school who could study for 3-4 hours and ace the exam, and then there were people like me who had to study 12-15 hours, right? So I think I'm not glorifying working 18-hour days.
Sure.
I do it. I did it. I continue to do it. That's me. And that's my way of getting by.
Absolutely.
If you can finish that same work in 4 hours and have fun for the rest of the time, kudos to you and do that. But for people who have the bend like me, you got to do what you got to do.
I still remember reading about, I forget which CXO, but he posted on LinkedIn about hard work and long hours and stuff like the way he got trolled, mercilessly trolled. Shantanu, right?
Yeah.
So sad. I just felt so sad that here was a guy, he didn't say that he had the cure for the whole world. He had a point of view. And if you shut down a point of view so aggressively, then, it's just that. It's a point of view. It's a way of thinking, right?
I agree.
And
I think, look, one thing I will say though is that you have to be careful how you or measured how you portray your point of view if you have people who follow you. Sometimes we don't realize the implications of what we say as well.
Sure.
And let's say, for example, if I see on LinkedIn now, on average, my posts get 150,000 views. The 150,000 people who are viewing that post and they're going to action something basis that post maybe, right? So to be careful the way you portray
200%. 200%.
I thought the spirit of what he said wasn't correct, but I think people took it wrongly.
Completely.
And I guess that's the challenge of being someone who has a public perception and stuff like that.
Arjun, while investing is your new kid on the block and you're very passionate about it, somehow I also believe that D2C runs in your veins and has been for some time.
Yeah.
What is happening in that space?
Yeah, it's an interesting time for D2C actually. So I think we had a crazy bull run through COVID when my mom set up her UPI account and started paying online, and my dad set up his Amazon account and started buying on Amazon, and then started using his Instagram and started clicking on brand ads and buying products and then calling customer care teams and saying, why is it taking so long? So that was a huge leapfrog in behavior. And we started drinking our own Kool-Aid and believing that all consumption would become online. And then reality set in sort of summer of 2022 when offline opened. So I think the reality is now there is lots of competition in the D2C space, limited ad space, customer acquisition cost is high.
Absolutely.
And so you can't get by just figuring it out, by just saying, okay, I'll just do these 2-3 things and something will happen, right? You got to be technically sound. D2C is a science and you got to figure out how to work out that science and make things happen. So from that perspective, I think, there's a lot of everything on social media and in the press and stuff is sometimes like gloom and doom or unbelievable. It's like extremes. The reality is that I think there's still lots of growth, scope, potential. But the game is tougher because the market is mature. And that's okay.
100%. I think lessons kind of differ in the ecosystem that you've entered in, at what stage of the cycle that you've kind of gotten in. What lessons would you think a D2C founder right now should keep in mind? Because he or she is clearly entering the game at a very, very different level of play.
So I'll say 5 things right, that they should keep in mind. Number 1, performance marketing isn't going to cut it.
Excellent.
There's lots of competition and so you have to build a brand. Number 2, there are lots of Me Too products. If you're a Me Too product as well, you get lost. So cut through the clutter to some mode of differentiation. It could be price, it could be strategy, it could be brand, it could be convenience, it could be formulation, it could be anything. But you've got to have your differentiator. Number 3, customer experience and customer expectation is much more heightened, right? So faster delivery, a proper unboxing experience, a good post-purchase journey, a good website seamless experience. All of these things are a given now for customers, right?
Yeah.
So you can't get that wrong as a brand because the customer is expecting it. Number 4, I think founders have to now be more rational about the spaces they choose as well. What do I mean by this? I mean that, like, if you're picking personal care now, you got to have something truly differentiated because it's a very competitive market now. So look for genuine niches and spaces where there is ability to build a brand and there is a white space available, right? So the good news is in India, a candy store that's present in just airports and malls can get to 100 crores because the market size is so big. That's the good news about living in India and not living in a Sri Lanka or a Israel or a country with a sort of, or European country with a sub 50 million population, right? 2 Bombays is 50 million people. And Australia's population is equal to Bombay. Right? So use that well. So pick nice niches. And the last thing I would say is, the world is our oyster. Brand India is real. It's global. Everyone's looking to us. And so don't just think that your market ends at India. In certain categories, there is a huge play and availability for a global market. And my dream is to see Indian brands
100%
occupy those shelves in Walmart and Walgreens and CVS and Duane Reade and Tesco and Boots and all of those places, right? We need to see those brands there. And so if you believe there is a genuine use case for a brand, that the world is your oyster, go for it.
And you're already starting with numbers to play with in a market like ours, right? If you get the mix correct.
You get the mix right, it could be amazing.
Right. So, which also means that it's a de facto, if you're not looking at a volume play, would you say that would be the best way to go at this point in time? If you're not looking to scale, if you're not looking at high volume and low value kind of a play, might not be a great place to be in.
In what?
In D2C brands, you have to have like exposure to a large number of people, and you do that, but your margins will be lesser and your value play will be lesser.
No, so I think that's not the correct way to look at it. Look, I'll tell you what's great about D2C is that if you pick a niche which has, let's say, a 1 million addressable customer market in India.
All right.
Let's say you pick that niche, right? If you go offline to that 1 million addressable customer base, that customer base of 1 million consumers, fine, they are in Bombay, Delhi and Bangalore, but the rest of them are totally scattered.
Yes.
And so if you open offline retail channel in Goa, each sale per store will be so low that the business won't make sense.
Yes.
Now, if you look at, let's say, M Caffeine, for example, it's a very specific product. I would have never thought this brand would have scale, but they do more than 200 crores because online allows them to aggregate those 1 million customers on one platform. And that's really powerful, right? So I think a smaller niche is not a problem in online because online allows you to reach that niche of customers, whether they're in Shillong or Muzaffarnagar or Imphal or Anantnag. There is one customer in Anantnag who wants caffeine-based cosmetics, or 10 or 15 or 20. But opening a retail presence there may not make sense.
No. Now it's comparing between an existing entity and a new entity. That I get. So it'll always be an easier play online. Your measurability is better. Your metrics will be met. All of that. Your
the
entry
other thing
barriers
you
are
said
low and
was lower value.
Yeah.
Right? That's the other thing you said. Actually, very low value does not work online.
Excellent. So
the reason it doesn't work is because we have this thing on online called logistics costs. It usually works out to, on average, if you include every geography plus COD, etc., 80 to 85 rupees per order on a blended basis if it includes COD for our business at Doctor Vaidya's. If your product average order value is 150 rupees, either you charge the customer 80 bucks, but then they're like 50% of my product price is being charged as additional shipping. I'm not paying for that. Or you stomach that cost, but then 50% of your margin is going into shipping and so you have no customer acquisition cost. So AOVs below 300 rupees don't work online. And actually, I think AOVs around 300 to 500 work on marketplace. On your website, you have to cross 500 rupees for it to genuinely work. That doesn't mean that your individual product value has to be above 500, but if you bundle products together, it should cross.
Gotcha. Fascinating. This is all completely news to me, as you can see. So all my questions will be very novice-like, but it's a very exciting space to be in. So are you seeing a preference towards D2C investment at V3, or are you ecumenical and saying, hey, listen, that was there. I do have expertise, but there are a bunch of other things that I'm game to invest in.
Yeah, so I don't just invest in D2C.
Exactly.
Across V3 and across my personal portfolio. But in V3, the focus is consumer. So consumer brands, which is D2C brands, consumer technology, like we invested in Coco FM, in a vernacular job upskilling platform called Entry. We invested in Eka Care, which is in the health space, the disruptive health tech business. We also do platforms. And then we do enablers to commerce. On a personal side, I've done 17 enablers to e-commerce, the back end of e-commerce.
Gotcha.
Quick logistics, marketing automation, creator economy, converting a website into an app, AI in marketing. All of these things are really what we as D2C founders would be using.
Lovely.
And so that back end, if you believe in the gold rush, invest in the shovel, right? So that's why I think enablers.
I think you invested in the gold rush in the uniforms they wear. All the stuff is really interesting, but I also realize that when it comes to investing, when it comes to pitches, and you're sitting on the other side, and there are like lots of pitches that are made to you, and 50% of it, I've heard you talk somewhere that you ascribe it to the founder. What is your secret sauce to figuring out what is this person made of? How do you do that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And 50% of my investment decision goes into the founder. I actually look at three things. Who is that person? And it goes more than just their background to who is that person, what do they stand for, why are they doing this? Then, why does he or she have a right to win? So in Ayurveda, I had a right to win, right? Because I had 150 years of family legacy and ready 105 plus FDA approved formulations. But if I was to tell you I'm launching Chandrayaan 3 or I'm doing something in the space tech space, I'm not an aeronautical engineer, not an aerospace engineer. I have no right to win. So second is what is the right to win? And the third is, look, startups look very sexy from the outside.
Sure.
You're seeing me in this pink jacket, purple t-shirt, and you're saying, oh, this guy's done this, he's had an exit, etc., all of that. But the journey is a grind. And it needs lots of grit and resilience. So why will this person fight through tough times? That they're really passionate about what they're doing, that even when things are looking bad, very bad, they'll fight.
That's fascinating. What was your story to yourself when things went bad?
My story to myself was very simple. One, I'm 24, 25 years old. If this doesn't work, I have my whole life ahead of me. And nobody's expecting me to succeed. And second, it's my family legacy. So even the toughest times I saw so we used to have my great grandfather's chair in my room beside where I used to sit. And it had his name on it. Every time I was down and I'd look at that chair and be like, they are also fighting and hoping and praying that I make this successful from heaven, right? So I got to do it. It was deeply rooted in my family legacy. That kept me going in the toughest times.
Amazing. What would your advice be to, the life of an entrepreneur is a storied journey in the sense that hero's struggle is real. And when the hero falls down and is beaten down, and if somebody comes to you for advice.
Yeah, so I used to listen to this song a lot when I was growing up. So it was actually the theme song of the 97-98 Desert Storm series where Sachin went to Sharjah and beat Australia twice, right? So there is a song by this group called Chamba Wamba called Tub Thumping. And the chorus of that song should be the motto for every entrepreneur. He says, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down.
Oh my God.
That's the journey of every founder, right?
Sure. That's awesome. My personal favorite would be the Rocky series. And, it's not all about winning. This is not how winning is done. Winning is done when you take the hits and you come back again. It's a very, very rousing this thing. And one of my fondest things that happened was when I took my kids to the Philadelphia Museum and they did the Rocky run up to the this thing, Hall of Fame kind of a thing. Look, you're an ace storyteller. And I could see that in your presence on LinkedIn and how I think I work with senior CXOs on leadership branding. And your LinkedIn literature is simply a master case in that. Because it's beautiful, simple, hard-hitting. It has all the elements. So which leads me to, whether you're raising funds, not raising funds, you're a CXO in an organization, whatever. How important is storytelling?
Very, but it's not for everyone. So, a lot of people come and tell me, you write on LinkedIn, etc., all of that, and I can't do it. So, am I not going to be successful? The reality is, if you can do it, it's great because it's an additional bonus and it's superb. If you can't do that, people who don't do it as well. Right?
Sure, absolutely.
And that's also okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's great for D2C founders specifically, right? Because it's very good when the customer can associate a face and a story to a product as well. And so it really helped me, both as a founder and then in my journey as an investor as well. Because now when I reach out to a founder, they know me. They know who I am. They've seen the story. That helps to break the ice, establish context, and have that conversation. So I think that's really helped me. And I think the way that I go about it is actually there's no structure, there's no do this, do that. It's just telling what I genuinely believe in. So some people say sometimes you just like say things that people would not say publicly, or that thing that you said was really hard hitting. How do you think of it? No, that's how I am, right? And the more real you keep it, the more people appreciate it as well.
I think that's the best stories are
So I wrote about my dad visiting my office on earlier this week. And I wrote about a father-son relationship.
Beautiful.
Right? And people really resonated with that because everybody has that story in their life as well.
100%. So without kind of going about it academically and structurally, you're already hitting the high points.
I hope so.
I think it's one of the reasons why I wanted to catch up with you was because when I read those notes and when I heard you speak, it was beautiful because not just because you were articulate, but because the story also had a lot of other great ingredients. It was like the troika of everything: passion, grit, youth, perseverance. It has everything. Another thing that I work with, I'm a leadership coach. I work with CXOs. Is leadership content still relevant in today's day and age, or ये हो जाएगा काम करते करते I will get it?
What does leadership content mean?
So when you go out and actively invest in figuring out and learning from other people, saying that, hey, this is how he led himself. This is how he leads his team. Or these are things that I'm not great at. Maybe I can learn something from that. Actively
I think,
investing.
When I started Dr. Vaidya as well, a lot of people said, hey, what's your culture in your organization? Do you have team outings? You're like 6 people, right? At that time, I was like, no, I don't have. Honestly, I need to get this business off the ground before I can think about this, right? So I think that these theoretical things that we talk about leadership, etc., about how to lead an organization, they become relevant when an org reaches a mid to large scale. Yes. So an early stage startup that's 6, 8, 10 people, you can watch leadership videos on YouTube, but that's about it. When you really need to start thinking about it is when you cross 30, 40 people and you can't scream and have your team in the same place, right? That's when an org is being created, and that's when it's crucial.
100%.
It's not talked about enough. But I think leaders who can really empower their teams and really, you know what I love? I love when a founder has a team member who has left the company to start up, talks proudly about that. That's real leadership.
Absolutely.
That's real leadership.
Absolutely.
So the PayPal mafia, the Flipkart mafia, that's real leadership, right?
200%.
Flipkart's employees have created unicorns.
100%.
PayPal's employees have created unicorns. That's very impressive. That says something about the leadership.
200%, because you're kind of equipping them with all the fertilizer, all the nutrients that they require at that point in time, and because you've chased the dream, you can notice that when somebody else also wants to chase his or her dream, and to give them wings is like a wonderful thing to do.
Correct.
Amazing. What are the basic tenets of your self-leadership model? How do you lead yourself? If I have to deconstruct that, how would that look like?
Yeah, I would say 1, honesty and transparency. You got to be open and honest about the good and the bad with your team. Second, no ego. If the lowest paid employee in my company came and told me something that I could improve, for example, we had Dr. Vaidya's t-shirts that we would wear every day, right? So I put the logo in the front and I put some logos on the sleeves. One of my team members came up to me and said, I travel by train every day. I want to wear this t-shirt every day, but I want the logo at the back as well, because what if someone sees me from the back? And I want the website link at the back as well. So we put the website link at the back.
Amazing.
And that was great billboard for us in the trains, because we had 50, 100 people every day traveling by train coming to the office, right? So I think no ego is the second thing. And the third thing is, let people make their own mistakes and don't say, I told you so. That's the only way people will grow. And unless people grow, there's no compounding of growth in your organization.
200%. And from a command and control mindset, which is very 1990s kind of this thing, today's leader in whatever space that they're in, if they can't lead with that kind of a self-leadership model, it becomes that much more tiresome and, ineffective to a large extent.
Correct.
Fantastic. Leadership behavior influences business results. Your comments. And now I want you to kind of widen your lens a little bit and talk about biggish organization, small organization.
But the answer is yes. And the answer is yes because it comes down to people capital, right? And leadership unlocks the value of people capital in an organization. If there are two people working 12 hours or 14 hours a day, people say you can work 14, 16 hours a day. At scale, you can't work 14, 16 hours a day. You can efficiently work 12 if you're great 14 hours a day. Two people working 12 hours a day is 2 into 12, 24. 8 people working 10 hours a day is 80, right? 10 people working 8 hours a day is 80. So, unless you can lead and you can accept that this organization is not only about me, the compounding of growth will never exist in your organization. And scalable organization cannot be built by two people. Even WhatsApp, which is a famed success story of a lean team, was still 16, 19 people when they sold to Facebook.
And and that itself is like a huge anomaly, right? I mean, we're not saying it has to be tens of hundreds of thousands, but the shadow that a leader casts, unfortunately or fortunately in many cases, is a big one, or ought to be a big one for them to have that kind of an impact. And I think leadership behavior is a great way to go about that.
Correct.
Awesome. Very, very inspired about your India and your love for, this is something that has been spoken about, not just in entrepreneurial circles, but there is a vibe, there is a promise of possibility. There's a promise of a million things happening in India. And I work with a lot of leaders, Indian leaders, who are on their way to becoming global leaders of various organizations. So for Indians to aspire, and I use the word world beaters, then one of my guests corrected me. Can we make that world champions? I said, yeah, that sounds like a better word. Let's go with that. Where do you think we need to kind of smoothen the corners or, dig our heels in?
Yeah, look, I think we are taking lots of steps in the right direction. But I think that there are a few things that can be, that we can all work together in. One, economy cannot be concentrated in 5 cities. We need to, if we want the startup space at least to boom in India, there need to be 10 Bombays, 10 Delhis and 10 Bangalores. Today there's Bombay, Delhi and Bangalore. The founder from Indore or Chandigarh or Kochi, why do they have to move to Bangalore?
Absolutely.
Or Delhi or Bombay? They should be able to build that ecosystem in their city, right? So I think that's one, and I'm very passionate about it. If anyone invites me from a tier 2 city to come and speak or come and engage with startups, I go.
Awesome, yeah.
I sometimes miss Bombay, Delhi events. So we need 10 Bangalores, 10 Bombays and 10 Delhis in India for us really to unlock the value of our ecosystem, right? Why should a founder from Indore or Chandigarh or Kochi have to move out of that city to build their business? They should be able to have the ecosystem in their city to really take it up and scale. And that's something I actively work on and I'm very passionate about. If someone calls me from a tier 2 city, I make it a point to make the effort to go. And I've gone to Lucknow, I've gone to Guwahati, I've gone to Shillong, I've gone to Chandigarh, I've gone to Kochi, I've gone to all of these places to help Indore to foster the culture of entrepreneurship and really help those startups there, right? Second thing I think is ease of doing business. We need to work on that. We've gotten better. Digital has helped a little bit, but it still needs to improve and become a little bit more seamless.
Very politely put, Arjun. Yeah. I might add.
But we have got better.
We have gotten better. Okay.
We have got better, right? So, look, think about your entry into an airport.
Yeah, sure.
Think about the way you pay.
I think that's probably one of the best in the world right now.
It's amazing.
Right? Amazing.
It's amazing. So, we have to appreciate. The problem with us as a population is we like to complain.
Sure.
Indians love to complain and fuss and crib, right? That's how we are. And we always strive to be better. But what is good needs to be accepted. UPI
200%.
UPI is going global. People are loving it.
Totally.
So I think that's the second thing from an ease of doing business perspective. And the third thing, it's a little bit deeper and a little bit sort of seems like not so relevant, but I'll tell you why it's relevant. Quality of life outside of work needs to improve. Why do I say this? Because for us to become truly a global power or superpower, people from all over the world need to aspire to want to spend time in India.
Amazing.
Whether it's live in India or come to India frequently, the experience of travel, the experience of parks, the experience of schools, the experience of recreation, the experience of everything around life that is work. I can say that BKC is a world-class workspace now.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
But the metro work in BKC makes it impossible to travel around BKC. Right? So I think that is something, infrastructure we are actively working on, but that will take some time. And that's really important.
No, I think as systemic factors go, the first one is also very, very close to my heart because urban decongestion is a need of the hour.
It's a need of the hour.
And, why would we want somebody to leave their parents, next of kin, beautiful place, childhood friends, just for the sake of, creating a meaningful life?
Why?
Well, exactly, right? And as of now, it's a tragedy that's what's happening. But my question was more around the context of people leading global organizations or, India organizations, but then they're transitioning to global roles. Any insight into what they might need to invest in to cut it at that level? See, as it is right now, the number of global CEOs, Indian CEOs, it's just blooming.
It's blooming, it's blossoming.
And the more the number of people, the more happy we are that, there is chest beating and jingoism, but it's also a proud feeling, right? So how can we accelerate that? How can we have more?
See, at the end of the day, I'm very happy to see that lots of global companies are led by Indians. But we have lost this talent to those global companies, right? And so we need to do our bit to prevent this brain drain and keep them in India. And these factors will help it to happen.
No, I think that's
if the quality of life in Bombay was close to the quality of life in London, we won't lose these people. And we're getting there and we'll get there. But we have some way to go.
Absolutely. I think systemic factors, and I love the fact that he spoke about life. Like Richard Branson says, what is work? What is life? What is work? What is play? It's all life.
See, I've had a kid now, right? So
how has that changed?
You start questioning, what am I working so hard for? I'm working for my family, but I want time with my family. This I never had before, right? Now I want to come home. Yesterday and day before yesterday, I was in Delhi. I was missing my kid, right? But you start asking these questions at some point. I would not understand when people would ask these questions, but now I understand.
This is like a coming of age in that sense, right? Appreciating the other aspects of life, which makes it meaningful. So right now, interestingly, we are living in an age where there is an assault on our ability to do deep work. It could be WhatsApp pings, email pings. It could be bombardment of messages, and not to mention the chatter in our own brain. What are the hacks that you kind of lean back on to simplify and be able to do deep work?
Yeah, D&D. Phone on D&D.
Okay.
I had a friend who told me once I operate like my mobile phone like a landline.
Nice.
During the work day, I'm not getting notifications. I think that really helps because it's so easy to get distracted. Just so easy. There are so many notifications come from so many places. How do you manage?
Completely.
How do you manage? It's crazy, right?
It's mind blowing. So I have like a series of, this is one of my favorite questions with all my coaches. So I've got like a set of techniques. So there are people who will leave their phones in another part of the room when they're, in deep work. Other people will say, okay, I'll reply to emails only twice a day. Somebody said beautifully, an email to me is not a chat. It doesn't mean that the world is burning down. A chat is a chat. Yeah. So which means somebody needs me at that time. That's when they're chatting with me. An email is not that. So why do I feel the need to respond to every email as and when it lands up? So there are various theories, but finally, you got to figure out what works for you the best. But it's distracting. It is distracting. Completely distracting. And I think there's going to be a whole slew of startups that are going to get into the deep work space because ubiquity of tech around us ensures that there is less stillness in our mind. And that's just an unfortunate development that comes along the way.
Correct. I agree with you. Yeah.
What are your daily rituals, if any? What goes into the making of a good day for you?
I think every day starts the same way. Unless I'm traveling, I wake up between 7:30 and 8. I read for 1 hour in the morning.
We need to spend some time. No, we need to spend more time on that. Okay. Talk to me about that.
So when I wake up in the morning, I don't I have a reading list of things which are not day-to-day relate to my work. Right? There are articles.
Amazing.
There are industry deep dives, and that's part of my work, but it's secondary or tertiary part of my work. And so during the work day, you don't get that. Right? So that 1 hour is spent with that. The second hour, after I spend some time with my baby, is spent on physical activity, movement. Movement is crucial for me. So it could be a jog, it could be going to the gym, it could be playing squash, it could be playing football. But in the work week, every day, I do some movement. So Monday is a run, Tuesday is the gym, Wednesday is yoga, Thursday is the gym, Friday is run. Right? And then weekends is for sports. That helps me actually declutter. I'm very into fitness, I'm very into sport, but I also think a lot. If I'm going for a run, I get some of the best thoughts in my mind.
It does, yeah.
And then the workday starts. And the workday is packed with meetings and calls and all of those things. And the workday usually ends when it ends. I am one of those people who's flexible with the end of my workday.
Nice.
If it needs to be 9, it needs to be 9:30, it needs to be 8, whatever it is.
But how do you manage your energy? Do you feel...
I don't have tea or coffee. I just love the work I do. I don't have tea or coffee at all. Never had energy drinks, none of that stuff.
Gotcha. Amazing. But there's a great deal of regimentalization on and importance given to both. Two things that really popped up is reading. And reading not primarily on your own subject matter interests, but co-adjacent areas, if I may speak, or sometimes it doesn't have to be.
Correct.
Right?
And then the fitness.
Fantastic.
It's crucial.
Fantastic.
For me, it's crucial.
No, it's 200%. So I was actually joking with the team saying that should we have a segment where I do push-ups with my guests? And the only 2-3 people I was scared of one was Nitin Kamath. I'm like, okay, no, he can bench press more than me. He can do more push-ups. Then why would I go down that road? But amazing. It's so nice to hear that. But interestingly, a lot of young startup entrepreneurs are beginning to realize. Somewhere I remember hearing about one startup founder who spoke about having 3 panic attacks in 3 months. And my heart just went out for him. He had to do what he had to do at that point in time. Nobody else can live that story. But my heart went out because when you invest your time in physical fitness at that time, maybe that just gives you a better
outlet,
coping mechanism. It just declutters you. It just calms you down a bit. And I think that's really important. And it's so nice of, to break that down into movement. It doesn't always have to be like, hit the gym or something. Go for a run, go for a swim, but just keep moving. Keep your body moving. Amazing. What are you reading these days?
I'm actually watching.
Sure.
I enjoy watching documentaries. So,
lovely.
And I think there's lots we can take from sport into the world of entrepreneurship. So I watch a lot of sports documentaries.
Amazing.
Currently watching one on Netflix called Quarterback. It's a show about 3 NFL quarterbacks. And quarterback is like an entrepreneur, right?
Of course.
There is the defense, the offense, the other team trying to get you, and you got to throw that one ball to that one person and move forward. And a team of 100 people is dependent on you, right? In the NFL. Before that, I was watching Breakpoint, which was the Netflix show on the tennis players. So I watch a lot of documentaries.
Amazing.
Because I learn a lot from the way successful people live their lives.
Beautiful. Did you watch Air?
Yeah, I watched Air. I didn't like Air actually as much.
Okay, do
I like the story of Air.
Yeah.
I liked, but I thought
what is your dissonance with that?
I thought they could have done. No. I thought the story was nice, but I just think it was such a beautiful story. They could have done better.
What would you have done better?
I wanted to see more of Michael Jordan. I wanted to see more of the impact of what it did later. Like that product has revolutionized the way endorsement looks.
200%.
We didn't see that. We saw just the backstory, the emotional story. But it was a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a good story. It's a fantastic
No,
story.
I completely get that, because when I was reading a bit about it before, they said, MJ is on screen only for this much, and that too it's from, footage from earlier and whatever. Like, what? Really? That's about it?
But it was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice. I'm glad that movies are being made about these kind of things.
Right. Matt Damon just killing it. Amazing. What leadership behavior have you changed for the better in the last year?
Controlling my emotions. Not in the last year. I would say in the last 2-3 years. Controlling my emotions better.
Okay.
I wear my heart on my sleeve, but sometimes like wearing it too much on your sleeve, yelling, getting very agitated, angry, etc. It's not a good example. And so being a bit more measured about the way I react to tough situations is something I have worked on.
That is completely fascinating. How did you land on that? One is
I made a
awareness.
lot of mistakes.
Sure.
And I think I realized the repercussions of those mistakes and then realized I need to manage. Look, everyone has their own journey, right?
Sure.
And so if someone's doing something that adversely affects the thing that you care about and you spend 99% of your day thinking about, you get angry and defensive and survival instinct comes out. How to manage that and still keep that relationship is important.
That's a very, very integral part of the human condition, because when we say leaders need to be passionate, and how does passion get exhibited? I'm not saying you got to go out there and yell for everything, but I'm saying if I feel so connected with something, exhibition of whatever is happening within me is bound to happen. But there is a cost also we end up paying, because we're dealing with not other versions of ourselves, but other people as well. So once you realize that, what are the steps you took to measure and pivot on and change the way you showed up in these situations?
Yeah, I would just stop, breathe, think, and then react. I think that 10 seconds that you breathe and think is crucial in the way you react.
Amazing.
Because that impulsive reaction is the problem, honestly.
Gotcha. And if Trisha were to give feedback on saying that Arjun is amazing, but this one thing, what would that one thing be?
He can't say no. So I stretch myself too thin. I'm still not good at it. I need to get better. I can't say no.
But how does that play out?
I'll tell you how it played out this week, right?
Yeah.
So I had to go to Delhi for 2 days for 2 separate commitments on 2 days. So I went on Tuesday night. I had a commitment in the day on Wednesday and a commitment in the day on Thursday. And Trisha said, there is a dinner that I think you should make it for. I couldn't say no to anything. So I flew to Delhi on Tuesday night. My flight got delayed. I reached my hotel at 1 a.m. I started my day at 8:30 a.m. Finished my day of work. Took a 6:30 flight back to Bombay. Landed at 8:30 p.m. Went for the dinner. Reached there at 9:45. Came back home from there at 12:31. Took a 7:55 a.m. yesterday to Delhi. Spent the whole day in Delhi. Took a 8:30 back to Bombay. Then I had to be somewhere for a closing party of something I'm part of. So from the airport, I left the airport at 11. Reached there at 11:30. Was there for 45 minutes to an hour and then got home at 1:30 yesterday. And I'm here with you right now.
Jeez.
Because I couldn't say no. I should have said no to something there, but I couldn't say no.
Wow. If you had to rewind it, what would you have said no to?
Something.
But you would have said no.
I can't tell you which one. Definitely not my wife. But something.
But you would have said no to something.
Yeah, and in Delhi when I was telling people about this, they were like, please don't tell my spouse that you've gone and done this.
That's going to be a tough act to follow. Husband of the Year award goes to... Finally, signing off, what does off time look like? Now, I know you're a new dad. Welcome to the club of fatherhood. It's a beautiful club.
Thank you.
What does off time look like? Apart from playing with
Off time for
Aisha.
me, fine. Playing with Aisha, spending time with her, that's one. But I think I have a lot of time for myself as well. I talked about documentaries. I like to watch documentaries. Off time for me is doing physical activity. It's in the gym. It's playing a sport. It's writing. I love writing.
Nice.
I enjoy writing. You've seen me write on LinkedIn.
Do tell, yes.
Seen me write on LinkedIn. I'm in the process of completing a book.
Lovely.
Which will release in a few months.
Talk to us about it if you can.
The book is the journey. There are lots of parts of like in 4.5 years, I saw what people see in 20 years.
Sure.
Right. And so there are a lot of nuances of that journey that I wanted to talk about.
Amazing.
So the book is, its working title is From Zero to Exit, the journey of a 20-something-year-old entrepreneur.
Wow. How catchy, huh?
Yeah.
How many words in as of now?
We are like 60% through with the book.
Okay. So is it a 60,000 word kind of a attempt or any idea?
It will be something around there.
Okay.
Around there.
Okay.
Something around there.
When are we likely to see it on stands?
Hopefully by my birthday. My birthday is September 10th. That's the hard launch
That's a hard.
Yeah.
Awesome. Arjun, it's been a blast. Thank you for having us over and taking me through your journey. I hope our listeners and viewers will get a lot of inspiring nuggets from somebody, dare I say, so young, but still so wise.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been a really engaging conversation. It's very different from many I've had, and so I'm excited to see what people think. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.